Speaker.
The next call is a split call. Jan Logie, 5 minutes.
Talofa lava, Mr. Speaker. The Green Party is opposing the Child Protection Child Sex Offender Register Bill. And I just want to put on record at the beginning of the speech my discomfort of hearing our opposition characterised as not centring the needs of the victims and not being concerned with the needs of victims. The Green Party are passionate advocates for survivors of sexual violence. And I am on record many times in this House about talking of the number of people I know personally who were offended against as children, and the many more women and children I've worked with as a volunteer in specialist sexual violence services and women's refuge, and how passionate I am about sorting out the system to ensure that they get the support that they need, that we have a functioning justice system and the appropriate treatment for those who offend so that they will not offend again. To suggest that we do not care about this issue and the survivors of sexual violence is blatantly untrue. We oppose this legislation for many reasons, but the heart of our opposition is actually based on a real commitment to reducing the prevalence of sexual violence in this country and making sure that survivors and perpetrators both get the right help so that we can reduce violence. START, a very well-respected Christchurch-based NGO that spent years supporting children in particular, as well as adult survivors of sexual violence, did not support this bill based on the experience of their work. They brought forward to the committee a US-based study that found, and I'm quoting, no support for the effectiveness of registration and community notification laws in reducing sexual offending by rapists, child molesters, sexual recidivists or first-time sexual offenders. The regulatory impact statement also notes that there's limited research evidence from other jurisdictions about the effectiveness of sex offender registers. I heard from the member from New Zealand First saying, well, saying that there's not evidence to show this work doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Well, actually, that research does question, the US-based research does question whether it works. And we also have to recognise the potential for harm from this register. The possibility, when we acknowledge that we have a 1% conviction rate in this country, that people will see this register, particularly if it's public, and they'll think, okay, they're the dangerous people over there. Anyone else, we don't need to be so worried about. We don't need to make the efforts around having vigilance and ensuring that people know how to report, because they're the dangerous people, when in actual fact they're a tiny percentage of the dangerous people in our society because our justice system doesn't work. And the $146 million, which I might say is about 3 times what the entire sexual violence sector got out of the Select Committee inquiry that they had to fight and advocate for decades to get, based on strong evidence. This is being given to an unproven method, and $86 million of that will come from police baseline funding when police are patently unable to do their job of getting cases to court at the moment because of resource pressure as well as a failing legal system, to take money from them, their resources, to put into a register where we know it doesn't have no evidence that it's going to work, is, to me, creating more potential harm than not. So the Green Party is absolutely opposing it on the basis of the needs of victims. We need to put money into prevention services right across the country, and we need to put money into ensuring that our justice system works. That's where our money should be going in the first instance, alongside support for survivors. And when we were given evidence by the Law Commission that they said we could do this with some law changes through parole and sentencing to ensure when there was evidence of risk that we could put measures in place, we have to recognise there's the potential, if this goes through, the Law Society doesn't support it, that it may be a deterrent against sentencing people, which we've seen happen with increased penalty rates. So there is significant harm at play here.
I call